UnoRaccoon here, again with another video. It's been, I think, like a week or 2 weeks since the last one. I don't know, to be honest, I haven't been keeping track. I wanted to do this a little bit sooner, but I've been really busy with work. I'm still working full-time, doing commissions and freelance artwork, so that's been taking up my time. Today, since I've got a little bit of time, I'm on top of my work. I might as well do it now, or else I'm never going to do it. In my last video, if you've seen it. If you haven't, you can go watch it now. Or unless you don't want to, that's up to you. I talked about how I got my first job with a theatre company and the kind of projects that I worked on. 2 projects. I talked about making a wolf costume and also making 6 pumpkin heads for a Halloween show. So in the last video I talked about those, and I also mentioned that there was a 3rd project that I did for the same company. So I mentioned that I'd talk about that in a separate video, so I'm going to do that today. The 3rd project that I worked on for the Neverland Theatre, who are an amazing theatre company based in Skegness, who I've done a little bit of work for, was a refurbishment project. So I'd never done anything like this before. To be honest, the closest thing I've done to like a refurbishment would be finishing off a pre-made fursuit head base, or working on 3D printed fursuit head bases that came from somewhere else. There's a few things I've done before. I'd never actually refurbished a fursuit head or a costume part before, so that was really interesting to do. So the costume that needed refurbishing was a polar bear mascot head. So it's a bit bigger than a fursuit, it's made of different materials, it's kind of worn in a different way. So this was around, I think, late November last year, so November 2019. I was commissioned to refurbish this polar bear head that was already in existence. So they sent the head to me, so I got it in the post in a big box. First thing I did was try it on, obviously. It was a mascot head, which was interesting because I've never worn a mascot before. Like, I've worn plenty of different fursuit heads, different types of fursuit heads, but I'd never actually worn a mascot head, which is really interesting because it's like, when you wear it, it's almost like a helmet. It has a lot more space, so you can't like move around as much as you could in a fursuit. So like with this, for example, I can just like fling my head around, whereas with a mascot you can't really do that because it will just like fall off. But that said, they are actually pretty comfortable to wear, so I can imagine how like theme park mascots or company mascots could wear them for quite a long time. So this head was a polar bear, which was going to be used in a Christmas show, or had been previously used in Christmas shows. I was informed by a user on Instagram, I can't remember their name right now, I'll have to look into that, that this head was made by a company called Costumes with Character. I'd never heard of that company before, so I did look them up. I couldn't find any pictures of the polar bear head when it was new, but they did have a lot of pictures of their mascots which look quite similar, so I assume that is correct, that it was made by Costumes with Character. So when the head got to me, it was in very, very bad shape, honestly. It was a really well-made costume. I think Costumes with Character are a professional mascot costume making company, so their work is excellent, but it was just in really bad shape. I don't really know why. I think either it had just been used so much, it was probably quite old, and maybe just used to the point where it was kind of unwearable, or maybe it hadn't been stored properly, I'm not too sure. I'd never got the full story, but it was in very, very bad shape. So it was up to me to sort that out. So looking at the head, you could see that the fur was very kind of mucky, obviously hadn't been cleaned, it was very like discoloured, like a greyish colour that used to be white. The eyes were made out of like a net material rather than a mesh. The eyes were very faded, you could barely see the pupil detail. One of them had been like poked through, so it had a big hole kind of here. The mouth was also made out of a mesh that was like half ripped off. The nose was like a blue vinyl, which actually looked really cool, but it was missing a lot of the vinyl as if the colour had just rubbed off. And the ears were kind of, one of the ears was like stuck down like this, and the other was just like hanging off. And the inside was fine really, but it was just kind of coming apart a bit. So the first thing I did was take off all the fur, which was a job to say the least. Whoever made that at Costumes with Character did an excellent job of gluing on the fur, because that did not want to come off. I ended up having to melt part of it off with my glue gun with like the end bit, and some of it I couldn't get off, so I just ended up having to sand it down, like the glue and the remainder of the fur fabric. I took out the eyes, took out the mouth, they had to be thrown out because they were just like beyond repair. So once I'd taken off the fur, I could see that the head was made out of fiberglass, which I think is often used for mascots. It's also used on theme park rides, like the little kind of bumper carts and stuff are made of fiberglass. So I could see that it was made in 2 halves, which was really interesting, like it was put in a mould and then the 2 halves would be put together. So very different to how a fursuit would be made. There was no foam or anything, it was just fiberglass, like a plasticky material. So I taped it all up. It was very big, so it was like kind of this size. Taped the whole thing up and then started cutting out the fur. So I bought a whole load of new fur because the old fur just had to be thrown out. It was too mucky and worn out, beyond repair really. So I refurred the head. That took a long time. It took me like a whole day just to do that, but that was a pretty easy job, just very time consuming. I redid the vinyl nose. I actually left the original vinyl because it wasn't really going to come off. It was like moulded into the head. So I just recovered it with a new kind of blue vinyl, so it had a bit more of a plushy kind of look. For the eyes, I replaced them with buckram mesh, which is the same thing that I used on this head that I tend to use on all my fursuits. So I painted some buckram for the eyes. I used the same design that was on the original eyes, but obviously much brighter, not faded, and made with plastic mesh rather than like a fabricy mesh. Same with the mouth. I used the buckram mesh inside the mouth because it was kind of open. I think as the mouth was kind of an option to see through as well as the eyes. I replaced the ears, just like plushy kind of ears, same as they were before but just new. I replaced his little like hair tuft thing, kind of like on this head, he had like a little tuft of hair. The inside did have a fan that was broken. The kind of wiring switch part was missing. I don't know what happened to that, but to be honest the head was wearable enough without a fan. I think that was more just something that mascots have originally for if they're going to be worn for a long amount of time, but I didn't really need to do anything with that. I wasn't specifically asked to do anything with that, and I'm not very good with electrical stuff at the moment, so I didn't really need to worry about that. So yeah, once everything was done, I sent him back. I'll put a picture of it right here. So yeah, that was pretty much it. That was a really interesting project. I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of interesting to refurbish something and see how it looked before. Well, the before and after was really cool to see. And it was good to see how something like that can be brought back to life. And I was really happy to have the opportunity to do that. Kind of put a new life into something that had come to the end of its old life. Well, not quite because it was refurbished, but something that would otherwise probably have been thrown out if no one was going to refurbish it. I don't know what would have happened to this head. I imagine that either somebody else would hopefully have refurbished it or it could have been thrown out. I have seen in the past that a lot of theme parks especially throw out the mascots or kind of purposely destroy them when they aren't in use anymore, just to kind of stop people from stealing the characters and the mascots, which makes sense, but I do think it's a real shame. I'd prefer if they got put into storage or something. I did see a video a while ago where someone refurbished the Woody Woodpecker head from Universal, and that is an amazing costume, and it had been purposely destroyed because the theme park weren't using it anymore. Someone rescued it and restored it, and now it looks amazing again. So I'd really like to be able to do more of that and bring life into costumes that might otherwise get thrown out, or you know, just make people aware of the fact that these costumes are out there, and if someone's there to just put a bit of time and effort into them and restore them, then they can be amazing again like they were to begin with. So I was so happy to be able to do that. It was a lot of fun to work on. It's great to see him have a new life and be used again in shows and stuff, which is really cool. Hopefully he might be used again, or even if not, he now looks new. It looks the way he's supposed to look. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. Probably a shorter video, but I just wanted to separate that into a different video because the other one was a bit long. And I thought this was interesting enough to talk about on its own. Again, the purpose I'm kind of making these videos is to just tell people a bit about what I do and like maybe help some people who are wanting to go into costume work or even costume restoration, as this video specifically was about. And yeah, I don't always have the time to do videos because I am still working and I'm still kind of looking for other jobs and stuff. But since we are in lockdown, obviously there's no conventions, no festivals, nowhere to go, which I would normally be spending a lot of my time on. So I am enjoying doing the videos. I've noticed subscribers are slowly going up, which is amazing to see. I'm really happy that people are enjoying it. I'm not too sure when the next video will be. Hopefully soon, depends how much work I have to do. I'm not too sure what the next topic will be, although I have had a couple suggestions, so thank you to the people who have suggested stuff to me. And those were to do a video on how I got into like the whole furry thing, and also all of my own fursuits and characters and stuff. So I kind of want to do both. I think the fursuit video will probably be split into two because I have quite a lot to say about that. So maybe in 2 parts, but other than that, I definitely want to do those. I'll do them at some point. If you've got any more suggestions, feel free to leave them down below or message me or whatever you want. If you want a commission, or if you know anywhere or anyone who might want some work doing from me, feel free to get in touch. Just send me a message on any of the links down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I will do whatever commissions you want me to do. We can discuss, or even if you have any questions about this kind of work, or about my characters or my work or whatever, or if you just want to say hi, feel free to send me a message. I will get back to you. So I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're all staying safe and sane, and hopefully this is not going to last too much longer. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Feel free to give me a like and subscribe if you want to do that. You don't have to. And yeah, that's the end. So I will see you all next time.